What's up, tribe? Thank you for being here and welcome to my channel. This post is titled The Blame, and it's a dialogue between Matias and his higher self. So I'd be referring to Matias as me and to his higher self as I am. Me. Today I woke up strangely upset, uncomfortable, and a bit angry. I am. And you know its origin? Me. I couldn't identify it. The feeling is like not knowing what I feel. Lately, with the task that we are doing, I feel as if it was not me. I feel more sensitive than usual, but at the same time, apathetic. You know well that my day to day is to move for my purpose, and since we started, my purpose is day by day and not long term. I'm not thinking about what to do in a month, not even tomorrow. It's rare for me, and there is something inside me that is, this circumstance makes him irritable, as if knowing that I could give more of myself, I don't give it. I am. You are not only attentive to what others expect of you, but you also give great importance to what you expect of yourself. Me, well, I think that if we are here to be responsible for transforming ourselves and thus transforming the world, we have to be attentive, to give our best. I am. The problem is when you still have nothing to give. What others receive from you today is not what you are giving. It is what you are showing by giving yourself. I eat. Me. I eat. And again, I think this translates to como? What? I think. But let's just keep it as I eat. I eat, question mark. I eat. I am. This process that we are living is personal. And what you write here, what we speak, is yours. And by reflection, others receive. But you're not giving, you are only reflecting. Because you still do not have what you have come to deliver. You must work yourself first, and part of that commitment is to remind others that they must follow the same path. Me, it takes a burden off me to know that I'm not giving but reflecting, although at the same time it puts me in a place of comfort. I am. The conflict is the weight that you have put on. The lack of your father in your childhood built the idea that the universe is your father. Thus, the goals you set for yourself in your life are cosmic, not familiar. By detaching yourself from family conflicts, you sought a larger family, humanity. Having lost your childhood home, you made Earth your home. Seeing the distortion of the matrix system, you charged yourself with the task of correcting the knots of the planetary grid. Seeing the closed doors in the hearts in your school, you decided to educate yourself, to open the portals of the world. And when you understood that the conflict is in the use of systems, you proposed to each about the systems of creation. And by refusing yourself as a guide, you decided to aim to work for the social transformation of the future. Don't you see that every great decision you have made is a great weight, increasing on your shoulders? You can barely support your own body. How do you intend to perform such feats if you created them so as not to see that the conflicts were much closer in your personal life? Me. Ouch. That hurt. I mean, everything I do it because we have agreed, because of the history that I have lived, and because of the missions that I have planned with all the beings I have met. Why now you tell me what it is? All an invention of mine to escape my own responsibility? I am. Oh, I did not say it was an escape invention. I said that you were ahead of the facts. Everything is perfect, and your flaws and weaknesses are the keys by which your personality is useful for your planetary mission. Your greatest weaknesses are your greatest strengths, and therefore it is necessary to work on them. What you do is show the world your inner work. You are not here to be a teacher, but a mirror. You are not here to sit in a chair and give life lessons. You are to be a traveling companion. Me. Yes, I feel like I want to give more than I can. I am, and you give what you should give. The weight you carry on your back is yours alone. Nobody forces you to put such responsibility on yourself. It is only your choice. All the beings you meet only give you tasks, missions, steps to follow, tools, just because you told them that you could do it. Not because it was imposed on you. Each one chooses her own destination. Each one chooses her path. Each one puts together her own bag, carrying what she considered she needs on the trip and must carry her goal. The others are there, in each dimension, to help you and me, I and I am, to achieve the goal that we have set. And I am part of this traveler that is you. Me, the weight sometimes make my knees bend, almost in a feeling of resignation. Before it did not affect me as much as now, because before I only counted what I remembered, and now I must tell where I'm going, and that's very different. I am. Why do you think it's different? Me, because telling the past and what one remembers cannot be changed. It simply is. It's a record, data, which may be right or wrong, but they are simply my perspectives on what I experienced. It's like, for example, when I was a child and my mother was arguing with her uncles about buying the house after my grandfather died, and I was crying because my bunny had died. That moment, today, I remember with a lot of weight in my soul because I feel I did not do anything, that I only took my mother out of focus, but at the same time, I know that I was only 9 years old. I couldn't do anything. And even more, I didn't understand anything that was happening. I only remember the pain that that rabbit had died. And I remember that the family was in the dining room arguing, nothing else. I am. Therefore, you cannot judge yourself for not understanding, for not seeing that other part. Me, and yet, in a way, I do. And when I put all my effort into buying a house, it was for that moment. Sometimes it is those circumstances that define our present. What happened just happened, is what I saw. I could simply see the rabbit. No one can judge me for that, but I can judge myself for what I'm going to do. Once I'm aware of what happened, my future action is judgeable, because now I'm responsible and I must act accordingly. Thus, the future is more terrifying, because each step I take already depends on my intention, and not on what happened in the environment. I am the guilt. Me. In what way? I am. Guilt is the concept of failing, of not doing something right. Normally today, it is related to the fact of doing something wrong, saying something inappropriate, or acting outside the established, committing a mistake that should be punishable. However, the oldest concept of guilt is not related to bad action, but to ignorance at the time of the action. Humans are moved by guilt. They react in their lives through guilt as a way of intent, of trying to find harmony. It was my fault, and therefore I must fix it. This creates a huge weight, which bends your body, and that weight weakens the pillars that support your integrity, your legs. Me, yes, I feel guilty. I never thought I would feel guilty, and the truth is, that is what I told you. And the truth is, that is why I told you. Before I did not feel guilt, because I could not feel guilt about things that had happened, that I had lived. I cannot feel guilt for who I am, the product of a spiritual, soul, and biological history. When I dedicated myself to explaining what I remember, what I learned in my lives, I felt free of guilt. I only felt a very great responsibility to continue with what I could not continue so long ago, knowing that now the time had come to resume what was unfinished, the reconnection of the internet. But this life offers me a new challenge. When I finish closing what I left incomplete 12,000 years ago, that is at the end of this cycle in 2022, I must begin to build a future, and in a way, it is new for me. It implies giving my opinion about the present, and giving an opinion is like seeing only the rabbit. It is impossible to be neutral. And sometimes it happens to me that trying to talk about what we should do today and in the future, I cannot put aside what I observe of the world. I am, and that is inevitable because you only have two eyes, and you occupy only one place in space, being who you are. The world then will be seen from your point of view. Me, but I can talk to you, and to other beings who offer me great neutrality. I am, but not for that. You will be neutral. A ship cannot sail in all directions at once in this dimension. You are in the third dimension, and here you have to decide a destination. We, from other dimensions, are the radars and control towers that we help guide. Knowing where the routes are, the storms, and other ships. But the destination, you mark it. The controls of the ship are yours. You are the captain, not us. And therefore, we are the ones who have to guide you. We are the ones who have to guide you in your decisions, not ours. This is your freedom. Me. And the crew? What? I am. They decided to get on the boat. Nobody forced them. Me. Still, I feel responsible. I am. You should feel responsible, but not the weight of guilt, because you can only choose one destination. You can only take into account certain factors and not all. On your journey, you will go through certain circumstances that do not happen in other seas, oceans, islands, and that does not discredit your navigation. Each ship has its own route, and they all share the oceans, the water. There's no ship that can touch all destinations in the same trip. Me, that is what makes me feel guilty, believing that I am only guiding everyone to my destination from my point of view. How do I get to be neutral? I am. The ship is not neutral when it sails to its objective. The ship is neutral when in port it tells everyone, our trip will be this way and with this destination. If you are looking for another, there are many more ships. They will all be useful for browsing. Me, I understand. That is, I waste too much time blaming myself for sharing my vision when I just have to say, this is my vision, but there are many more. I am. Guilt is a feeling of someone who acts with unconsciousness. And here you are openly demonstrating your unconsciousness, the lack of ignorance of the other paths. The other paths, does not make you ignorant. What makes you ignorant is to believe that you do not take them into account. It is because of these things that you feel misplaced in the matter. You are used to seeing the all, and this life. You were asked to choose a path with the all in mind. Me, it scares me, because if there is something that humans usually do, is name and label the roads. Speaking of the future, it will be very easy for them to try to find the word that defines what I will say. Communist, neoliberal, Illuminati, guru, sellout, and many other connotations. I am, and you will never be free from the connotations of others. For others have eyes and perspectives. Everyone will always judge you by what you do, decide, or think. For each step, for each breath, there will always be a critic from their point of view, but it is your decision to be free of them. The conscious is free from criticism. It takes them as suggestions that nurture its capacities to transform itself. The unconscious takes them as criticism and personal battle, entering the game of who is right. Me. I've been very oblivious lately, trying to excuse myself from what I say, reacting to the opinions of other eyes. But today I realized that it was not anger, but guilt. I felt that if someone does not understand me, it is because of me not knowing how to express myself well. That if someone tells me that I don't know something, that's my fault for not having studied more to find out. That if someone doesn't like me, it is my fault for not being more open. If they suggest me to do things differently, it is my fault for not knowing how. And this leads me to my own family. I feel the problems that have recently separated my family are all my fault. For living in a world of dreams and missions without realizing the needs of others, or from their views. I feel that many of people I lost in my life, it was only my fault. I am the same tasks every person on earth who seeks consciousness. How to be accepted when I speak my truth. Will they understand me? And here is the great challenge in understanding that you are all human and that error is the key to your growth and learning. Consciousness encourages knowledge, trial, and error as part of expansion. Understanding that each human is a perspective. Unconsciousness is shown from closed positions in phrases such as I disagree. It's not like that, because all phrases put from negativity and in opposition defend a position. In each conflict there are two views, and both must respond with phrases such as according to my vision, from my perspective, I believe, I know that. This is how we can build, not by discrediting the other, but by building from visions. Thus you will understand that nobody is to blame for anything because everyone needs to put themselves in a place of the other. It takes two looks to generate a conflict, not just one. What one causes generates noise in another, awakening its distortions. But as long as we stop seeing the guilt in one or the other, to see the visions in each other, reconstructing the fact from a broader perspective, we can understand that everyone was right. They simply could not see the reason of the other. Guilt is an unnecessary weight that humans carry and that has no productivity. To identify guilt over a fault, first identify awareness of it. Do not be afraid to comment, as long as it's acknowledging that the other visions are not against you, but in your favor. Me. There is no sense, then, in guilt. In the same way that a child cannot have responsibility or guilt over the conflicts in his family, as long as he is ignorant or unconscious of a fact. I am. No one is born knowing everything, and the greatest sample of coherence is to recognize that most of reality is unknown. Me, I just know that I don't know anything. I am. Recognize in guilt your great lack of awareness about your responsibility. Being responsible is not doing what others and the world expect of you. It is giving the best you can of yourself to the world. Don't ask for peers from the elm, they often say. Me, I understand. The great responsibility is to discover what I have to give from my humble perspective, what I can share about myself, and offer the world from my vision, taking the faults, shortcomings, errors, criticisms, as a way to nurture my growth. It is true that one cannot know everything, but one can learn. I am. We have all come to learn. The one who expects someone who knows everything cannot be a great teacher. Me. I remember when the teachers got mad in class because we didn't know something. It was a paradoxical that instead of wanting to teach us or worrying about why we didn't understand it, they got angry because we didn't know. I am. And what kind of teacher are you? Me. Well, now that I think about it, honestly, it does bother me a lot when there are people who ask questions that seem obvious to me. I am. There are no obvious questions. Who asks a question, it is because he does not know the answer. Tell me, can you tell me what is the gravitational mass of the sun? I do not. I am. For an astrophysicist, that answer should be easy. Me, I get the point. But that doesn't mean I have to answer them all. I am. No, of course not. However, that does not mean that it does not seem obvious to you as a teacher in class. The answer that you did not know seemed obvious. You can help the student find the answer on his own without having to give him the answer or detract from the question. Me. Yes, I understand. These are things that surely happen to many of us because we feel pressured or conditioned by the learning method. I am. People always position themselves in one place or another, the one who knows and the one who doesn't, the one who knows and the one who ignores. Guilt is part of ignorance, and ignorance because by not knowing, it does not respond, or fails, errs in its attempts. It is therefore necessary for the teacher to help him find the way to do it. And the key to achieving this is recognizing that we are all in search. We are all learning. You cannot blame yourself or others for what is unknown or ignored. Me, so I must value what I am capable of giving to others and honestly learn from what I do not understand as long as it's within my reach. I am. You don't need to know everything to know. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Today's society has made knowledge a burden and ignorance a way of life. The challenge lies in accepting ignorance as a natural state, capable of evolving through learning. And knowledge is enrichment along the way. No one is guilty if they do not understand why. Me. And what about those who do things wrong, knowing that they are wrong, like corruption, murders, rapes, etc.? I am. It is also the fault of the ignorant. No one who destroys an ancient life or a common balance can be aware of what he is doing. This act cannot be defined as consciously carried out, but rather unconsciously reacted. Someone who disrupts order is someone who has been distorted and who needs to find balance again. Relearn what you forgot. Me, so the guilt is only a personal perception, not an external fact. You cannot put the blame on someone. You can only accept being guilty, which comes as I feel unconscious before what I have done, and release myself from guilt, knowing that it was something I did not know, and that I must do better by learning new ways. I am whoever is blameless, cast the first stone. Me. It's a good example for those of us who tend to criticize others without realizing our own flaws. I am. Every living being is in a learning process, so it is important to learn to respect other students. Do not feel guilty about what you did not do or what you could have done. You did what you did with the tools that you had at that time, and surely now you would do it differently. Quite. Me. And in relation to the future, I am. You cannot ask for forgiveness for giving what comes out of you. It is the decision of others to take or leave what you have to deliver. As long as it arises from your heart and coherence, you have nothing to lose, only to surrender and learn. Free yourself from what others believe or think of you. Be yourself and deliver what you can in each moment. And over time, you will learn new things that will make you deliver new perspectives. It's called growing up. No one could be ashamed of growing up. No one can feel guilty about being a learner. One should be proud to be a student of life. Me, recognizing this takes weight off my body. My legs can relax and my knees flex. Still, it gives me the feeling that being aware and neutral is almost not having the right to emit opinion, and there I find my dichotomy. How can one be neutral and express a personal opinion at once? I am. Neutrality has a fundamental characteristic: acceptance. Neutrality is like the frivolous concept of what you call unconditional love. Being neutral does not imply not having an opinion, but rather accepting the opinion of others. The mission of neutrality is to expose acceptance to different points of view without being against any. Having a strong vision or perspective is not against being neutral as long as you do not position yourself in the dual idea that yours is the only truth and the other is wrong. To be neutral is to have strong conviction and an open heart to accept other convictions. Me, sometimes you could believe that to be neutral, you do not have to say anything or say anything. That being aware is almost like being a cloistered monk. I am. Being aware is knowing where you are going. Being neutral is not being against anyone on that path. To be neutral is not to feed the enemies, since they only exist in my points of view. The important thing about giving your opinion is that it becomes action, and that it becomes a coherent fact. Me, I free myself then from guilt. To be neutral, accepting my ignorance, and putting the will to learn along the way, without fear of giving my opinion, as long as it's impregnated with the responsibility of being consistent in actions and the facts. I am. Only then will you be free from all guilt. Me, and instead of throwing the stone, I will use it as a foundation to build a home where we can all live in harmony. I am recognize your unconsciousness because it is the only way to true consciousness. Because only by recognizing your weaknesses and learnings, you will work on your strengths, becoming a teacher. Me, I am unconscious in many aspects of my life, and thus I put all my intention and will to become a fully conscious being. I am welcome to the guiltless life.